Pues hola chicos, chicas, estamos hoy en las oficinas de Laconicum. Muchas gracias a la gente de Laconicum por prestarnos este espacio para poder entrevistar a James Heeley. James Heeley, nice to meet you, it's a pleasure. Welcome to Madrid.
Thank you.
Y vamos a hacer una pequeña entrevista al creador, al artífice de esta marca que ya todos conocéis, hemos hablado varias veces de ella en el canal, en formato de entrevista. Os voy a dejar el link en la descripción para la página web de Laconicum y os animo fuertemente a suscribiros a su newsletter, que es una de las mejores newsletters que hay ahora mismo en castellano. Dicho todo esto, vamos a empezar a hacerle algunas preguntas a James. So James, thank you for being here. So my first question would be, what drove you to create your own fragrances, your own creations?
Yeah. It's something that really came to. Well, I had absolutely no idea I would turn out to become a perfumer. It was never in my ballpark. I read philosophy at University of London. Then I trained as a barrister, so I was a lawyer in the UK. But I knew, even though I really enjoyed law and had really good people, and it's a great discipline, I really wanted something other than that. I couldn't imagine living knowing that I was going to be a lawyer until I was old and grey, and I just thought there's got to be more to life. I was actually frightened of the thought of knowing where I was going, which sounds ridiculous, but it's just the way I am. And I just thought, I've got to get out there, and I always wanted to do something creative, and I didn't really know what. I got a place at architecture school after law school. I thought this was another 7 years. And I ended up basically taking a year out after a Masters of Law, and I went to Paris, and I basically never looked back, really. I didn't live in France for a while, but when I first went to Paris, I didn't speak French, and I worked as a graphic designer in a small advertising agency. I learned all about graphic design, and it really changed my outlook on the world. Life seemed to make so much more sense when I could see subtlety perspective, and how typefaces work, and how it's all linked to other aesthetics like architecture, art and design as a whole. It was just a new language that I discovered, and I was kind of relieved to discover that. And then my design work led me to working with this was sort of late 90s, a famous florist in Paris called Christian Tortu, and through him I met Annick Coutal, who was working on his first perfume for his then brand as a florist. And I then I'd actually designed a lot of zinc vases for him, amongst other things, and I rediscovered scent kind of through design. So it's a long way. It came a long way to design, but I found that the perfume does. It's just kept me interested for so many years, and it's something that you never stop learning. And you realize that scent is this incredible mix of lots of disciplines. It involves, I suppose, farming. Yep. At the end of the day, people forget that scent actually comes from the land. I mean, originally, it is from
nature.
It's a gift from nature, and that's really, to me, one of the. I never forget that when I make perfume. Even though today we do use synthetics, and they're very important in part of perfume, but I still use a lot of naturals, and I think that it's important because I have this fascination, and I suppose more naturals are much more complex. They have a lot of unexpected facets to them, but that goes hand in hand with process of extraction, and the ability to highlight or almost hide certain aspects of an ingredient by its method of extraction. So it's almost kind of an this kind of engineering side to it. So that it's always been this mix of something creative, mystical, but at the same time, it's very, hands-on. It's farming, extraction, science, chemistry, and of course then the whole the creative process behind creating scent, and then you've got the packaging side, which is graphic design. You have images. I do my own, even though I'm not a great photographer, I do my own photography. I do my own graphic design. I put the scents together. So it's really I never set out to create a brand at all. It was something that I did my design work. I started editing design, as I said, for Christian Tutu. I then set up my own design company, and in that I had a project to do a perfume. I did my first perfume, Mint. I learned how to more and more about perfume, how to put it together, and just continued working. And today I had ended up with.
So you never stopped.
Yeah, because it's just so it's a kind of. It's a way of looking at the world. It's a way of making a living, which I never expected that would happen. So it's kind of by accident in a way.
So do you see perfumery as a language or just art?
It's definitely I mean, like most arts or creative, I don't say it's an art, but it's a creative. It's an applied art, if you like. It's creative. Like design it's a language.
It's a language.
It's like music is a language. You have to learn notes. You have to know how they put them together. And you have to have a kind of, I suppose if you're composing, you have to have a vision as to where you want to go. Even if your goals change as you work, it's something that's like work in progress, and your goals shift. Yep. Sometimes it's very quick and you hit it on the head, and sometimes you like get a bit lost and then go around in circles and then go back. And sometimes there are obviously lots of things you never edit because they don't make the grade, or they're too, So I suppose, it's
a language.
Yeah, so the work, the perfume, the collection of perfumes that I have today is basically it just goes over time, and I didn't set about to make X amount of perfumes, or I didn't actually register my brand until I'd been doing it for like 5 years or something. I just wasn't. It just grew. It's totally organic. I didn't like get together with a finance guy and say, I need X amount of investment, and I'm going to have a business plan and what have you. Of course, I had to organize myself and become. I suppose that's where my law ultimately became more useful. By it becomes a business like any other, but it's still a business that I love doing, and
it's a passion.
Selling perfume, which is ultimately what I do, but I love doing it, and I try not to compromise too much. I listen more and more to my clients or to people that wear my perfume. So I actually just enjoy the process. It's not like I'm totally into perfume and that's why I make perfume. I actually enjoy the process, and it's more like a puzzle, and it's more like a challenge. And I don't know.
It's just a mixture between the market, your passion, nature, language.
Yes, it just there's a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
It's something that I'm comfortable.
It's very complex. We can say.
It's complex. It's very complex. Yeah.
Do you have a mentor, a person you say is my guide?
No, but I see. There are certain perfumers over the past that have really impressed me. I think, I suppose, François Coty, but as well, I think he had a great vision, and he was a great visionary, and I adore it. If you look actually I know he was very successful with a scent called Chypre. It's actually done by Guerlain. More like 1890, something around there, and then it wasn't until the 30s, 40s when Coty made a success of the Chypre. But if you look at his packaging, his design, the bottles were so minimal and so clean and discreet and just so perfect, which is today is kind of in a way being lost. But I just think that his vision, not really as a perfume, but I think as a perfumer, I love like admiro who did Les Feux Sauvages for Dior, and I think it was around the 50s or 60s when he did that, but that was a time when there was a lot of change going on in perfume and ingredients. More raw materials were coming out in new synthetic ingredients, like Melonial and with this melon like scent, which I think he does. He's really good. I like the work of Jean-Claude Elena. But there's no one particular point. Not at all. I try to not really to look at what's being done, or don't really look at trends, or I just have an idea. And sometimes I have in the past been criticized as, that's like somebody else's, and I said, well,
and do you have
don't worry about that, but that's just the way things.
Yeah, that's very great. Do you have a favorite note, accord?
What else? I tend to personally, although that's changed because you do change, and that's
the evolution.
I think that's actually scent is, there are so many. It's such a large vocabulary, if you like. And I started off like everybody else, probably. I love like fresh. I still do. I really like fresh, optimistic, transparent, light scents. But at the same time, having said that, I also love like incense, woods, spices. So I don't have really. I tend to. I don't really have any particular ingredient that I like more than the other, but I tend to use, strangely, like mint in quite a lot of my perfumes, and I actually found it really, mint really accords very well with like the woods and incense notes, which is actually makes sense because in incense you have really two principal notes. We have different extracts, of course, but you have in the absolute, it's very much like a very clean, almost like turpentine or eucalyptus. Very
almost soapy sometimes.
Yeah. Could be soapy, but you have this, it really cuts through it's a top note. And then you of course have the more almost amber fruity, like labdanum cyst. The butter is much more almost like dates. It's like a confit. And you have amber notes, so you have these two, from the same raw material, you have different extractions and different notes. And so strangely, you have a note like mint, which is almost, it actually works really well with incense because you have the top note. It's almost like eucalyptus in a way. It's a kind of very clean and almost astringent. And so so I use mint, funnily enough, in quite
your first perfume was,
which is my first my first like idea of doing a perfume, which is different. And then actually a lot of my ideas to make perfume actually come from scents that haven't really been, were never really done before, or if they were done before, I didn't know about them. So first was like mint, and it's not obvious to make an mint scent, and it's quite actually difficult to make it elegant. And that's always the bottom line for me. A scent has to be wearable, elegant, and have something, detail, something different about it, without being different for the sake of being different or wacky. But it's just, why do it when it's already been done? I mean, it makes it more interesting. So from then I went on to do like another scent which was quite out there, was like Esprit de Tigre, which is based on tiger balm. So it includes again mint, but also mixed with clove, cinnamon, nutmeg, pepper.
It's like balsamic, very balsamic.
Yeah, it's very like almost like a sports. It's almost something almost like a muscular sort of treatment going on there. It's quite athletic in that way, aromatic, and so that's kind of a bit out there. Not an easy sense, so it's very decisive, but so be it.
It's different. And have you ever think about make or create a gourmand parfum like coffee, chocolate, vanilla?
I have, but it's not something. I guess I'm a real foodie, actually. I'm quite picky with my food out, and there's very few foods I don't like, but I don't like eating crack.
This kind of...
No, I do. I can love my balls and quite but that's like... But no, I love good fruits, so... I'm not a big fan of sweet things generally, and I don't like that. I like the feeling of being hungry most of the time, like eating so that I don't actually get too full. Well, that happens obviously, but I don't like picking up. And something like gourmand notes, like sweet, sticky gourmand notes. I don't know. I just not.
It's not
my thing. I really like things like Fève Tonka. I haven't really worked with it much, but
it's not your cup of tea, isn't it?
It's not my cup of tea. And coffee, nah. I can't imagine it, but I actually changed the formula of Blanc Poudre, which originally was supposed to be very, very powdery and white, and it's actually based on French porcelain and the idea of making a perfume liquid that's very powdery. A bit of a challenge. And in the end, I ended up putting in a sort of caramel note, ethyl maltol, which is a sugary, burnt sugar note, which is probably as gourmand as I'm ever going to get.
Yeah, that's not right. This is not a gourmand. No. the classic gourmand. And there are two fragrances of your collection, like Athenian or Chypre, who have changed through the years.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about the reason? Or
actually, Chypre hasn't changed. It's one of the few that hasn't. But Athenian, I actually had very early on. I had a fig scent, which was, and I just thought that the name was a bit too simple.
Oh yeah.
And fig became, over the years, it became very popular. I find it in all sorts of different things, and I thought, this is just a bit too much like an interior kind of perfume. Even though I love the smell of fig, and that's the reason I did it. When you cut a fig tree, you smell the...
I love this scent.
Yeah, it's an amazing scent of fig. And I thought I'd really like to do one again, because a lot of people were a little kind of disappointed, and I had people who literally said, we'll order X amount of bottles because I can't live without it. I'm really... This is, I'm not exaggerating, but people said that, I really need this perfume, and I have clients who bought, I did almost vats of the scent so they could then bottle it themselves, which I did it just sort of to not disappoint them. And so I thought I'd bring out another fig scent, but I wouldn't call it fig. But obviously the theme is fig, and this time it really is based on the sap of the fig tree. So it's like when you cut the fig tree, I do a lot of gardening these days. And when you cut a fig tree, actually I like this mountain bike.
Yeah.
When you do a fig tree, cut a fig tree, it's just worth cutting for the sentence just. And even when you're not cutting it, you just get that you say in French of the fig tree. And it's so complex because you have the fruit, the leaves, the wood, the sap, and it's just it's complex.
It's like the smell of happiness.
And it smells healthy. It smells of nature. It reminds you. A lot of my scents are, or people say to me, but it's true. They're kind of quite optimistic because
sure.
I think one of the joys of making scent and smelling scent is smell details, and one of those details is what I find in nature, and I'm trying to replicate what I've and capture in a bottle what I've smelled in nature. Quite simply, there's nothing more complex to it than that, really. But in order to do that, it's never exactly like nature. Like Sel Marin, I really wanted to make a scent about the sea, and I think simply because like with the mercantils, I love being by the sea. I love swimming. I love the smell of the beach, and I remember as a child always looking at these ads for perfume when you would see, white horses on a beach. I mean, people dripping in seawater, and then the smell of scent and think,
I think it's very realistic, Sel Marin.
Where do I get the, there's no C in there, so I really wanted to do a sentence another the C. And of course, it's how far do you go to get that image across?
Yeah.
You have to make it wearable, elegant.
It's a difficult word.
Yeah, it's a balance, and I think perfume is really about balance. It's really it's one replicate nature, but also it's not purely replicating nature.
Yeah, sure. So, how would you define your brand in 3 words? Your perfumes in 3 words, and yourself in 3 words.
Oh, myself, and my brand, my perfumes. I would try to. It's obviously difficult, and I'm also kind of repeating what I've heard from other people, but I tend to.
Okay.
So I would say there's a certain, even though it's kind of a bit basic, but that's fine. It's elegance.
Yeah, sure.
I try to make things elegant simply because I think elegance is super important. Elegance, by that I mean attitude, I mean a certain discretion. I don't like sort of in-your-face perfumes whereby you're the only person in the room sort of thing, and I don't. Yeah, they tend to reflect my outlook on life, I guess, or in a loose way. So I think they are, I would say, different, or I'm looking to bring out details that I haven't really. I'm not policing on the perfume. I don't look that much, but I really try to find a twist or a turn that I find interesting. So I think there's certain with detail, variety, or let's say intelligence or creativity to the perfumes that make them different. But without being different for being different and cool. It's just to have something that's interesting, that's detailed, and that's pleasing actually. It's pure pleasure. So it's like a good wine, a good olive oil, good fruit. You can either put it in your face and make it last all day or until tomorrow, but the downside is you're always going to lose detail and actually what stimulates your imagination, or what's because I think perfume has that ability to be able to a very simple way. It creates moods, it creates energy, it creates
memories.
You can see memories, you can relate. It colors. It can transport you in a way. It's sometimes just for an instant. It's just a simple pleasure. That's basically what it is.
I think that
they're more complicated to it. What do you say? Elegance. So individuality, I'd say. And then the third one would be.
I think they're quite sophisticated, like modern.
I think contemporary. Yeah,
contemporary.
Because the idea is not to. Do a retro thing, or because I know it's quite interesting and it's sometimes fashionable, hipsters or what have you. I think you really have to be a man or woman of your time, a person of your time, because I think that's what reality is, right? I mean, we're today, and we're looking forward, and we come with memories and baggage and experience or whatever. And I think the only thing that really matters is here, now, what's the future. So I think you have to be contemporary for me, when I'm creating, I just have to be, I'm in the here and now. So necessarily contemporary, but that's not to say that they don't pay respect to the past. They don't look forward. So contemporary is definitely that would definitely be the third.
And how about yourself as a creator? I think it's a difficult question.
Well, I'm kind of a jack of all trades because, as I explained, I do it quite I would say I'm quite creative. I don't know your 3 words to describe myself.
It's not difficult.
Difficult.
Oh, you're elegant.
Well, I'm not elegant. It's not something I try to do, although I do appreciate elegance or something, but I don't. I find elegance without, it can be dull. Huh? I mean, it's not to be. I think being natural is really important. Being modest, I think, is very important. Being aware of others and not like it's not all about me sort of thing. Although everybody likes to have attention from others, but I just think that it's I tend to think that my work is basically a reflection of who I'd like to be, or who I'd happy being, or I don't know. I'm very, very not ill at ease, but I really don't like this. I suppose there's something going on right now. It's probably going on for a long time, that I think that marks our era, where there's a lot of people that seem to be wanting to show how much they know, or how much they own, or how cool they are, or
it's like narcissism.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, is that real? And sometimes it all comes across as being very vulgar, and I don't know if it's to do with TV reality or a lot of stuff on the web where people manage to actually kind of hide, not really show who they really are. They're just playing a persona or what have you, and that makes other people think, sort of like, it wouldn't be about what you have and what or how cool you are, and I don't know, like too many suntans, too many tattoos, too many. It's just like too many gold bangles and
absolutely, yes,
shit like that. And I just,
the social media is this the social network like Instagram or you see.
I mean, it's fine. Social networking is fine. That's just one way of communicating.
Yeah, it's great.
But what's really important is how people, the values
people use it
when they're doing that. So, and I don't go on social media simply because I don't have time, and I probably should. I'm not active at all on social media, but I know it's totally old-fashioned, and it's not a question of being old-fashioned. It's just. But I think it's a really, really useful way of communicating. Of course it is.
Absolutely. And easy. It's an easy way to communicate.